Oh, can't make it out of town. Tracking Zoom financing. Is he gonna try to? Not this one, no.
I'll send them.
For information.
All right.
So,
We're unmuted,
yeah.
so. Quite a view.
Oh, we're good.
Yes.
Okay.
How are you, sir?
Good to see you, Mr. Chairman.
Good to see you, sir.
Hello, sir. See, thank you, sir.
Were we recording previously when I had my initial comments or no?
Yeah, it said it was.
But it was after he made his initial. Yeah.
So we will call the Municipal Public Safety Facilities Committee meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Mr. Jackson will not be able to join us today. With that, we're picking up discussions from our last meeting. A couple of items we discussed towards the end as we asked Ms. Lisa and staff to look for temporary solutions for our court overcrowding situation. We asked the council members prioritize direction of the town from our perspective on what pursuits we will take, and then we'll have to develop strategies to make these things come to fruition. With that, I see some information you shared. Ms. Lisa, give us the update.
Sure. As you said, I was tasked with trying to explore some temporary options for the court. Unfortunately, we don't have many options available to us. If the solution is to get the court out of here and find them with a temporary location for them to be housed, the only option that we have been able to find is that retail building that we talked to you about before, which is the Galleria 2 Shopping Center. We spoke to Robert Pratt. He has looked for a building that is suitable as far as location and as far as the square footage that's needed. And that is the only option that's out there for us. So with that, I
Let
just
me ask you a
wanted,
couple of things if you don't mind.
yes, sir.
The Galleria Shopping Center, now in the Trump Shopping Center, how much square feet is available for you?
That is 8,010 square feet.
Oh, that's what you got down here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, 8,010 square feet.
Mhm.
And that's about what you need.
Yes, I mean, that would be adequate for them for a temporary location. Right now, they've got about 4,800 square feet where they are now.
Mhm.
So I don't think that's what they would, I think they would desire closer to 10,000 square feet if they had a permanent facility. And that's probably what we focus on as far as the permanent facility. But as a temporary location, the 8,000 square feet should work for them.
And temporary would simply be the court system,
Just for the court, yes.
and police and fire would be the same as until we build them.
Yes, what
So
I
you,
have.
so we could be there 2-3 years maybe.
Yes. Yes.
I think we, would, from a planning standpoint, probably need to project 5.
Right, for as
homes
Lawrence.
based on the plans, development, permitting, and construction.
Yeah, I think that's what we talked about. If we were to enter into a lease agreement, it would be for 3 years with the possibility of renewing for an additional 2, something along those lines. But the thought process was if we were able to move the municipal court into this temporary location, simultaneously, we would start working on a master design, a master plan for the police department, the municipal court, a permanent location, and then of course the extension of the fire department headquarters all together. And we do have available in impact fees about $800,000 that should cover the master planning efforts that we're talking about, and should cover whatever upfit costs that we would have for that building.
So you're talking estimating 800,000 to upfit.
No, that's just what we have available in impact fees. I mean, I have no clue what.
So we don't even have an estimate of what it's going to take.
No, we have not. We have not gotten that far.
Who owns that building? Down here at the shopping center.
I don't know. I spoke to when I did contact Robert Pratt, our Realtor, to see if that building was still available. He put me in touch with somebody named Natalie. I didn't get her last name. Well, and I guess Natalie represented the owners, so I didn't actually speak to the owner. But they did say as of last week that it is still available. The only other option, and this was kind of a way off the wall idea that we quickly figured out would not work, is the only building that we own that might be able to accommodate a court is the Rollins Edwards Community Center, which, after talking about that, there was just no way to even convert it to a court temporarily, the cost of that, and then when we get a permanent location, then to turn it back into a community center. So that didn't really make sense to us.
Well,
So,
you'd be using it facility and for too long.
right,
If it was 6 months, maybe.
Right,
But you're
right.
talking 4 or 5 years.
yeah,
People will be mad at you like that.
yeah, definitely.
So this funding that you've identified, this funding could be utilized for a permanent facility.
Correct.
So essentially, we would be utilizing money we could utilize for the purposes of a new facility
Mhm,
while we're trying to build a new facility.
mhm.
And that makes the lift even that much more from a funding standpoint. And, how are we're approaching our budget retreat. How are we looking as we approach our budget retreat?
Not very good. I've got to tell you, it looks like our revenues are pretty stagnant. We're looking at potentially almost mirroring our 2022 budget without a whole lot of extra revenue to hand out. So
Another question I had too, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, is the American Rescue Plan funds. We got like half of it this year. We're gonna get another half, 7, 8 million next year, right? That's what I'm talking about too, isn't it?
well, yeah, and we're going to be talking about this actually at the Finance Committee meeting later, because that was really in our minds as we're working through the budget, that is our one source for some of these capital projects that we just don't have the extra money for this year, that could be our source for capital projects. Now, of course, we do have a fire station that we're going to talk about at Finance Committee meeting tonight that we don't have enough impact fee money to cover. And so that could swallow up a pretty big chunk of American Rescue Plan funds that we're going to get, not only what we have left in this first tranche, but a pretty good portion of the second tranche.
Apparently the impact fee money is just not been enough to carry us as the town was growing so rapidly.
Well, we used impact fee monies for a fire truck not too long ago. We not, and I don't have my impact fee sheet
No,
with
I don't
me.
remember using it for a truck. We did use it for 2 stations within the
For
last 6 years, 7 years or so.
Okay,
So
okay.
we rebuilt Station 2 on Newton Drive and rebuilt Station 3 on Trolley Road. So we had those 2 projects that were almost back to back. So that
Yeah.
was a
So
pretty
we've
good
used it, but I mean, it's just not generating, I mean, it wouldn't generate enough to build a fire station. I mean, you have to let it build it for 10 years probably to build a fire station, and which we can't, we have to spend it within 3 years, so. So we have that dilemma.
How many more capital investments of like fire station magnitude do we have? What we have to do over the course of the next 10 years? That we've
And I can let you-
identified?
Yeah, potentially 2 more.
2 more.
You know, the next in area, the off the interstate. Although, what's a big track? Warrior track would be number 7 district. They provided us land for that station in the development area. So beyond that, it would, potentially out towards. And what would you growth wise out towards Bacon Bridge and Chester Road?
I remember years ago when Robert Bosch came and we didn't have a fire station. They provided the land, built a fire station and funded it. You know, we get the big developments coming in and they give us an acre or 2 of land to build a fire station out. It just seems to me sometimes that ought to be more than that, just to get us going. Because it's expensive. If somebody's going to build on 40 acres, and they give us an acre of land, I can understand that. Or you try 1,000 acres, I know about 200 or 300 acres of that was wetland. Still. I think we start asking for more. The impact fees is not doing it. And, American Rescue Fund will be depleted.
Well, we did bump the impact fees up
But
slightly.
that's the future. I know we're
Right.
dealing with what we have now.
Yeah.
Was a part of being good stewards of our present money and our future money. We have before us a set of needs that we have identified. We recognize our needs. There are going to be needs at some point in time for us, our children, whoever comes after us. We have the opportunity to make decisions to do it the right way now and plan for the future so that we don't have to do it again every year,
Yeah,
bounce around. And I guess you two have been living together over there at Fire Police Headquarters. It's tight quarters. We have an opportunity to do these things the right way, do it one time the right way so that it's there and in place and we'll have to continue talking about these things.
Councilman Touchbear, if I may, I know we spoke about it last Monday. And it's just ironic that I brought up that we had the issue. And I think I go so far as to say, and I think one of you 2 gentlemen used the expression of emergency situation when we spoke last week. So I think it was Wednesday of last week after we had the meeting, we had the same issue again with our IT room. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment in there. And we came in the morning and the entire floor was flooded. That's them raking water out of the top of the air conditioning unit, but the floors were flooded, 2 inches of water almost. See the ceilings in our IT room. I mean, literally there's wires hanging down. It's to that magnitude and we're doing what we can. And then we know that we're kind of deadlocked on how long this could take and how fast we can get out and get this ahead of this. But I know you all realize the importance, the extendency, I think, for police and fire right now, but that's kind of what we're dealing with.
It's not only maintenance costs, but it's also the cost of downtime, inefficiencies, the security risk, as well as the health and welfare of staff. Do we have any expenditures categorized that we could say, this is what it has cost us to maintain these older facilities? Do we have any of that data?
I'm sure we
It's
do,
separated.
yeah.
We have a line in our budget for repairs and maintenance on the facilities.
I guess that's a good question. Are we charging those two departments individually, or is it going under the main? It is charged to the department.
Individual.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's restate what we learned last meeting from staff. The first priority is police headquarters. Right. Second priority would be fire headquarters, basically the upfit of the existing police headquarters.
When you say first priority is police, you talk police only.
Well, I was gonna ask, and then I would say third priority, based on what has been expressed from the need, real need standpoint, would be potential. Is that correct? We should-
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but
I'm trying to make sure I understand the needs.
yeah, well, those are the needs, but the tough thing that we've got to do is the limited amount of money, rent, and try to bill at the same time. That's what.
I think it's gonna be around $120,000, $150 in lease per year. Does that sound right for the court?
Yes. Oh, yes. It's, yeah. I've got the maximum estimated annual lease is 124,000. Now, when I spoke to Robert, he did say that we could certainly request that the owner contribute to a portion of the upfit costs, or we can request a reduction in rent, sort of in exchange for whatever upfits we would do to the facility.
So what the courts are utilizing, how many square feet?
4,800 right now.
This is a good start.
So I think, yes, if you list the priorities, I think that's probably correct. I think our opportunities, though, for being able to address the police department, first of all, is we have to find a place. There are all of these other factors. You have to design a building that sort of, even though number one priority, it pushes it out. Just because of all of the steps we have to take. The same with the fire department. The need for the court, and expanding or giving this facility some more room is something that we could address more immediately. Again, if council chooses to do so, but that was sort of my thought process. But yes, you do certainly have the priorities in order.
If we can't do something temporarily with the court, are there options internal to our internal facilities that would aid our staff in being more comfortable or having enough room? Are there solutions there? Or I know we have folks working in closets.
Yes.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That doesn't count, then we're in trouble.
Yeah. There was sort of and this is really, really preliminary. The chief and I had talked about the possibility of maybe being able to find another location for the,
Narcotic treatment.
I was
Narcotics
wondering if
and
I was even allowed to say that.
Well,
Okay.
they're in a place nearby
Yeah. So,
in the town.
yeah.
so that there's an opportunity to increase the room
Yeah.
present.
Yeah.
Now, what does that do to you?
We'll work on some things. We're currently, I'll explain more when I can, but just for law enforcement sensitivity, I want to kind of keep that under wraps. But you were talking about maintenance costs. So when our heat pump goes down, that's $8,000. Every time one goes down, and it goes down quite often. And so we have to pay P&H Mechanical to come out and repair. And we owe so much money to P&H Mechanical, it's more than our line item that we have for our building facilities and maintenance for the police department. I say that just because I think I said we exhausted, I know at least $26,000 on the HVAC already. But I just say that because you were asking for a hard number. And I was just kind of looking up things while you were talking. So,
Substantial.
and the parts come from Japan. So as you can imagine, there's supposedly a supply shortage.
Yeah. Any chance you spoke to the barn track folks?
I
And they
did,
laughed out
actually.
loud?
Well, I do have some information on that, so if I can pass those maps out, because I know you all got the spreadsheet that had all of the town-owned properties. And so we looked at some of the larger tracks and thought, okay, are these potential tracks for police court facility? So the first page, that larger track, I think I've written wet down there at the bottom. It's adjacent to the Selma Branch Trail. So we kind of scratched that one out. Same with the second page. The third page, I'm assuming that is the track for the fire station.
Yeah, that's the old, yeah, that's
Okay.
one's in.
Yeah, okay, and it's not big enough either, so.
It's small. There's residents right beside it too.
Right, right. And I know we had talked, there's been a lot of talk about the Public Works facility and those parcels, those tracts of land that we have out there. When the chief and I talked about that, I think it definitely has some issues with, I guess, accessibility. I think, would you have to go through Lincolnville to get to the tracks? Is that?
Yeah, they said we can't cut a road through Yancey Street. to get to the-
Yeah.
We were talking about a public safety training facility out there one time, and
Yeah.
we had to go around through Lincolnville to access.
So, and it would, for that to be our police department, our police headquarters in a court, it's so hidden back there, and it's on, the edge of town rather than centrally located. So those were the issues with those tracks. So then we've got the park and ride track. And that I think is still potentially on the drawing board.
Mhm.
And then that brings us to let's see the barn tract. So this was a very, very early preliminary sketch. Should be the last page. And when I initially looked at this and got excited about it, they have an area, well, right there, if you look at block number 7 on the Berlin G. Mars Parkway, Highway 78, number 7, it looks like that was sort of designated as a bus rapid transit site. So I did speak to Milton Thomas. The issue that we have with this tract is that this is in an opportunity zone. So for them to get the credits for being in an opportunity zone, they have to own all of this property for 10 years. So what they could do is they could do a build to suit to lease.
At least,
Yes. So
I think that's what North Charleston City did with their city hall. It wasn't
really,
that, I don't
Okay.
believe, yeah, I think it originally was not set to be what it is. But it was next to Verizon.
mhm.
So, he indicated that it might be something that he'd like to talk about a little bit further. He was going on vacation this week, but when he got back, he was going to talk to his folks. And like I said, this is such an early preliminary. This is probably doesn't look anything like where they are at today.
Right.
So,
It's got a good point of reference. You can see the,
yeah. So, and I will tell you this, one of the things that I think got his attention was talking about a parking garage that we've talked about over and over. We probably need between the police department and municipal court on, a property that has a lot going on. A parking garage is probably necessary. If we had a public parking garage that could be utilized for some of the other property on here, I think that's a negotiating point that we could certainly make.
I know you probably didn't ask this because it's so preliminary,
Mhm.
but did you ask about potential time frame? See this being done? If it were
Well-
done a part of this, because I know they're already going to have infrastructure
Yes.
in place.
Yeah.
They're already permitted,
Mhm.
because it's clear.
Yeah.
The site, the stabilization of the soil, whatever they have to do geotechnically is all going to be in place.
Well, it is
Mhm.
for the apartments. I don't know. I know for the apartments is sort of their phase one of this. So I think they still have a lot of flexibility with the remaining piece of it, but that I don't know. But I think the good thing maybe is perhaps that, they already have a master plan design team, at their request, so that would save us from having to go out and solicit and kind of start from scratch. And their design team, I would imagine, would want to do something that would blend aesthetically with the property and work for the overall. thing. But he didn't balk at, we're too far into this process, there's no way, so.
I see. I don't know about you, Councilman Brown. That does sound somewhat attractive.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's got a modicum of interest. It's like doing your budget at home, the lights getting cut off and the phone won't work. We're gonna have to do something about it. We can't afford to do it. We have to do something. And whatever we do is gonna have to be future projected because inflation and growth of the town. That's just like it's going. We go out, it's gonna be great to spend 10 million or so. We have to go so fast. That's, when I was on the school board, we had that problem continuously. For weeks, so we're gonna build 4 schools, you need 2 more.
Mhm.
They probably have to build 4 every.
One thing I probably do need to point out, again, because this sketch was done, so it's very preliminary. It does have an area identified as bus rapid transit. So in my mind, okay, there's some sort of public component in this, but as we scoured through the actual development agreement itself, there's nothing identified for that bus transit or for any other public property. Not that it couldn't be renegotiated, but there's nothing in it. And right,
Yeah, felt piece.
it did. So it's basically the wording in all of the documents don't have that.
and you may have said it, but so municipal government building would not fall under community needs for what they're trying to, you said that plot number 7, that it was community points or something.
No, that's what I was hoping, that
I
it was
understand. Okay.
identified as some sort of a public or community space or area. But That's what I was hoping, but when you scour through the documents, it doesn't. This is the only reference I can see is something that had any public type of component.
Mhm.
So I guess with midtown TIF right now, we've bonded out. We don't have any more tracks to try to do. We don't have time to do right now.
Well, that's another good point. I'm glad you brought that up because this is in the midtown TIF. So once we pay our debt payment, any revenue we get over and above that can be used for this project.
So with, all the stuff we gotta do, we have an estimate of what might be left out of 20 million.
We've actually got all 20 million accounted for, spent, so to speak. But we have identified what we anticipate, I think it's the 6th or 7th year out, where we start building up a little bit more of an increment over and above our debt payment. I think and I don't have the sheet in front of me, but probably within 10 to 15 years, you're getting closer to $500,000, $750,000. It's over and above our debt that we could use. But that's kind of out there, projected, I would say at least 10 years down the road. Now, those are very conservative projections. We could, with the amount of growth we're seeing and the amount of commercial projects we have within that TIF district, we could see it build up a lot more quickly. It's just of course, our financial folks, they always want to be very conservative.
Dominion property. It's all right now.
So the Dominion property we have on our budget retreat agenda. And I think the plan was to go to the Public Service Commission. Dominion was going to take it to the Public Service Commission in May. Either with, yes, the town desires that property, or no, the town doesn't desire this property and we're going to go ahead and list it for sale on market. So at our budget retreat, that's when we're going to have this discussion. Because they need some direction one way or the other if we want the property. And of course, there again, with our revenues that are projected very, very flat rate, we have to determine whether or not we can afford to reduce our franchise fee by the annual payment amount, which could potentially be around $130,000, $150,000, depending on what the final sales price is and the length of time.
Is that is that property within the new?
I know. There's so many things.
Well,
What's that?
I thought it was initially.
Yeah.
I guess not.
Didn't quite stretch on that side.
No.
So it might be
Through
off.
Cedar and Main Street.
Yes, but it
And
goes,
maybe
it ends
Magnolia?
like a third.
Maybe off, but right now, what it looks like in that number 7
Mhm.
piece of land, that's about 100,000 square feet. So it's about 2.25 acres. And obviously you could build up on it, but just put that out there. Did someone told me the other day, I don't know how true it is over here, the county services building and facility over here, someone said they were going to sell that property. Was that true?
They are actually looking at developing the property.
Okay.
And they did go before the Planning Commission and the VAR last month. So I think you can see that plan. Is that on our website? Okay. I think the plan that they're proposing, it's out there somewhere, but it's a lot of commercial components of
Got it.
the hotel. But I see where you're going.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Councilman Brown. Any thoughts?
Well, I was thinking, The Dominion property is about 4 acres. And it's valuable property.
Do you know how much it is? I know it's
It's
a
almost a block.
block. It's
two
almost a
blocks.
block,
It's a big
yeah.
Property. But if we bought that, I mean, if we work the deal out to the Public Service Commission, approved it, we use a franchise money, some of it to pay for that. And we can sell what we don't need. Somebody wants to come in with a big hotel, and we need some money, some cash in hand. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, we gotta take that property and put everything over there, yeah, I think we would need all of that. We're just gonna keep the fire station on. We don't need all that property.
Plus, they said, I think y'all mentioned we could not build up there.
Right.
CPW's across the street.
Oh,
It's about
okay.
three.
That's 3
Probably.
stories. Yeah. I
It's
was-
5.8 acres. The only property.
That's almost a block. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think we're gonna have to get to some point pretty soon where we're gonna have to make a decision on which way we're gonna jump, because we got, every day we sit here, inflation is escalating, cost of living materials are going up. So.
I don't think I have enough information to make a recommendation at this point in time.
Right. I mean, it's such a huge,
I agree. Yeah,
it's a huge undertaking, and that's probably why we've been talking about it since 2017, I guess, 2016, and nothing's been
It'd have been
decided.
a lot
because-
cheaper if we started then. That's what we need to remember. We kick the can down the road and
Yeah.
it's a snowball.
That's right.
Yeah.
Roads.
Yeah, it's,
And we need to get that right one time so we can move on and do the other things with the town that we need to do.
well, if we just come into to the realization, 4% money just doesn't cut it.
Yes, sir.
Just doesn't cut it. We got to learn from Keith Summer. We gotta bring big money if you want to have services for your people. People just can't pay for it. So, we were a bedroom community of the Tri-County area, and everybody was moving here because it's a good place to live. The big money was going into the city of Charleston.
Yeah.
With that,
I'm hell when I'm well when it comes to hindsight.
but do we have any other discussion topics we should consider at this time? I believe we need to chase down the Gorham track for more detail. We need to have a better understanding of council's desire to utilize the Dominion track. And we need to continue to explore options for the temporary relocation.
They shut that Galleria 7% over there.
I don't think the whole thing's vacant. It's one, two, they start using it.
Yeah, they are.
It's so they're about, across from the Blue Island Pictures.
You got
Yeah, half of it's used.
Calvary Chapel, you have
Yeah.
Cosmo Professors, you got Cuts in Chemistry, Evolve Fitness, Little Caesars, Second Chance Thrift.
Used to have a church out there one time.
That's Calvary.
It's still there.
This is not in that, it's there, but it's, that space is still open.
Anything else for the good of this discussion?
information is for. One of the things I thought about, and I know we don't want to pay anybody, but you know, one, some of these big outfits like Design Build, some of these guys. I understand municipality funding and that sort of thing. It's not a commercial enterprise.
For the court, you just want to look for, whether or not we can do something around here or over there.
Any options.
Any options, okay,
That may be more cost effective.
right, right.
We may find that that's the most cost effective option out there. Making that decision. So far, that's it.
So far, that's all
Because
Robert
option
been
A
able
and
to
option
do.
B is stay where you are and
Right.
figure out how to make
Yeah.
do with that solution.
Make a motion that we-
What was the objective for next meeting? What do you want us to do?
That's it. For the temporary relocation of the court,
Okay.
explore the barn track and verify council's intent with the neighborhood, which is kind of. Next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a motion that we adjourn unless there's something. End of to adjournment.
Second that motion.
Okay.
We'll vote. Next. Finance here soon.
I know, yes.
Somebody's supposed to be doing a parade about the